James Lloyd.
Great. Thank you. I think I'm going to start insisting on people just introducing me every time I walk into a room from now on. Please welcome James Lloyd with that theme music. We had a great session a moment ago, about 30 minutes ago. We had a session with Microsoft and BNY Mellon on the topic of, yes, of course, innovation, but actually what are some of the meaningful lessons or implications from a I guess, multi-industry perspective. What can we in financial services learn from what's happening in other industries? And needless to say, it was also a good session for those of you who enjoy buzzword bingo, because we had blockchain, we had cloud, we had fintech, we had a range of other hot topics. What we tended to avoid, which was very much at my direction, was AI. Not because AI isn't relevant or important. I mean, the fact that we've got a full house is testament to the fact that it is. But because I think of all the terms infecting financial services and indeed infecting all industries right now, I think AI is perhaps the most opaque. I mentioned earlier this morning as I was introducing the day that I run the fintech team for EY and APAC, and a lot of that is working with startups and in fact sourcing, validating startups. And I've found, just anecdotally, every week I will get approached by at least one, maybe two, maybe three startups who, without fail, will assure me that they are building an AI-powered, machine learning, implemented startup. And when I deep dive into it, even shallow dive into it a little bit, it strikes me that either I don't know what they're talking about, which is definitely possible, or in fact they don't know what they're talking about. Because what access to data do they have as a startup? What machine learning are you referring to? Is it an if statement? Because I've known that for 20 years. That doesn't seem particularly algorithmic or advanced. So I think using that as a preload into our next session, I'm really, really happy to have Clara de Roady with us today to speak to exactly this. Who here in the room knows AI? I'll take hand. Who here in the room genuinely believes they have a depth of insight and knowledge into artificial intelligence? Oh, come on, someone's going to have to. Great. So, sir, can you come up on stage? No, I'm joking. We'll save it for questions. Without further ado, let me please invite Clara to the stage, hopefully with a round of applause, after which we'll have a session to discuss. Clara.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a privilege to be here in front of you today, the top leaders of this industry, at a leading conference talking about financial services and the future of financial services. My name is Clara de Roady, as you've just found out. I am the founder and the CEO of Cognitive Finance Group. We are an advisory and investment company specialized in applied artificial intelligence. With our consultancy business, we work with financial services companies to advise them on the correct adoption of AI. My background is asset and wealth management, actually. I'm not a computer scientist. In 2014, I left the city with a view to pursue a PhD which sits at the intersection of neuroscience, artificial intelligence, and wealth management. Because when I left the city, I realized that the systems we're having in place, helping us do our job, which is looking after our clients' money, they're not just there. We're not doing a good job in order to be able to deliver what we are supposed to deliver to our clients. Good service. So I decided to pursue that PhD, and in the midst of it, my entrepreneur bug has come up to life again. So we set up this business. I'm in partnership with a group of computer scientists, machine learning specialists, and I'm the only one who doesn't have a PhD yet. Mm-hmm. But I'm working on it. So today, I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to take you down the memory lane, and then I'm going to talk to you about trust. And then I'm going to talk to you about AI. And then I'm going to talk to you about how AI can help us build trust. And in the process, I'll just dive into a few concepts about artificial intelligence. But I want you to know that I will be talking to you today from the perspective of a practitioner. I'm a practical person. I wouldn't adopt technology for the sake of it. because I don't think that's the point. Technology is here to help us, and technology is successful only as long as it helps people to do, and people adopt it. In our case, I would like to start with asking you a question. Do you remember what happened in January 2007?
Yes.
Anyone?
iPhone?
That's a very good answer.
Is it right?
And that is because probably you've seen my slides
I haven't.
yesterday.
I have not seen the slides. It's pure natural intelligence.
But I'm going to ask you something else. It's just something else that's happened in 2007, January. It was me using these phones. And I was using these phones only for texting, and my son was playing on them all sorts of games. When the iPhone came out, you're free to remind yourself if you want to see how it felt 2007 on phones. When the iPhone came out, my son was very keen to buy it, new gadget. I said, no way, just like we don't use this for anything else apart from texting. But then 2007 meant something else for our industry. It meant the beginning of transformation for us, because the day our customers have started having that thing in their pocket, that's when our proposition to our customer had to start to change. How many of you realized in 2007 that this little gadget is going to transform the way we think of our business and how we engage with our customers? I wasn't one, and I put my hand up. I was a senior executive in financial services wearing a paper bag on my head. And I thought I was just like really awesome about quite a lot of things. I knew that. I thought I knew a lot of things. But so this is what happened in 2007. It was a revolution. We didn't know it was happening. The next thing I'd like to take you through is a structure of the 4 revolutions people keep referring to. It's the first, the second, the third, and now we're living the 4th revolution. The word is revolution. And it started, according to some, in 1700s. And as you can see, I'm not going to take you through all of this because you're very familiar with what's happening. But I'm going to look at this timeline in a different way, in my way. And my submission to you today is that every revolution happens when there is a need for something. Revolutions don't happen unless people feel that they need to do something. So my timeline starts not in 1700, it starts in 1400s, when printing press was invented. Because people felt that they needed the knowledge. And that's what was the end of literacy. And after the knowledge was acquired, people wanted the power to move from A to B, to move things from A to B. They started trading. They felt empowered. They started making money. And then, then the need for connectivity became prevalent. So now people had the knowledge, had the power. Now they wanted to be connected beyond their geographies. And in the 2000s, I believe we entered a new phase, the need for trust. And the key word which connects all of these 4 phases, it's technology. At every step of the way, in the way we engage with everything around us, with everyone around us, technology has been the key of transformation. And in 2000s, we started talking about redefining technology with blockchain, because we redefine how we trust, and that's what blockchain is doing, and with AI. My submission to you today is that AI is redefining how we engage with our customers, how they trust us. So what is trust? Let's unpack the concept. It's reliability, consistency, transparency, and competence. I'm reliable because you know that I'm always there. I'm consistent because I always keep my word and do what I say. And I'm transparent. If I'm late, I always say why I'm late and how long I think I'm going to be late. And in different cases, I'm competent, and I put everything on me. But you can see how this concept translates in the way we engage with our customers. trust built in our industry sits on these 4 pillars: reliability, consistency, transparency, and competence. So, the anatomy of trust. Trust is built in the smallest of moments. Every time our customers engage with us, we gain 1 marble in that marble jar. That's how we build trust with our customers. And this is very important. And I'm going to just quote the CEO of Royal Bank of Canada. I literally grabbed this newspaper earlier today. And what struck me is actually, it's exactly what he's talking. He's talking the marble jar concept. With every single connection, you have a chance to win or lose your customer. So every time, with everything we do with our clients, we win a marble jar or we lose one. And sometimes we do something and we break the whole jar, and that's the end of it, most of the time. So what is trust? Experts say that trust is choosing to make something which is important to you vulnerable to the actions of someone else. So our clients in financial services, they give us something which is very important to them: their wealth, their data. And then, through everything we do, we build that trust or diminish that trust. And as we know, this industry is currently suffering of a deficit of trust. And again, I speak that as a former practitioner. What is trust? We know that. It's choosing to make something which is important to us vulnerable to the actions of somebody else. And this trust is about what I have shared with you and which is important to me, is not safe with you. This is the flip side of trust. The first time trust in financial services came in the form of lending activity back in Genoa, in old Italy. This maritime republic was very successful. Some people were very successful in trade. They made a lot of money, and they wanted to give that money away to make a little bit more money. So what they would do, in very brief terms, they would just set up their bench, the wooden bench, in the middle of the town, put the money there, and people would come to them, take the money, and then that was business done. When the lender would do something which would be questionable, his bench, her bench, probably his bench back then, would be broken. And the concept of banco rota. And that is the core of the word bankruptcy. So bankruptcy in our industry comes when we lose the trust of our customers. Back in the day, that was the definition. They came, they broke the bench, that was the end of your business. So when we build trust with anybody in our daily lives, the way we interact with people, we have to build a trust gap. So we start with no trust, and in time, we build that gap either through personal engagement, if we have the physical time to engage with those people. But sometimes we don't. And when we want to scale businesses in our industry, we need to have a tool to enable us to build this trust at scale. And my submission today is that artificial intelligence is precisely that tool with all its techniques. It enables us to build that trust at scale through personalization, through customization of our services. And the previous panel, actually, they touched on that quite heavily. Artificial intelligence comes under a few names. So I'm going to just take you through the 4 most used ones, so you're familiarize yourself with those concepts. It's machine intelligence, computational intelligence, intelligent systems, automated systems. And artificial intelligence has been around, and some of you know, since the mid-50s or something, and a lot of definitions have been created. People don't seem to agree on what it is. But today, because we are here practitioners in financial services, and I still probably think of myself as a practitioner, I can't help it, we need to see at how this technology enables us to do certain tasks at scale. So this is our definition, my team's definition. AI is the theory and development of computer systems able to perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, like visual perception, speech recognition, and decision-making under uncertainty. And then I brought another two segments of two definitions. One is by Margaret Bowden in 1977. She said, AI is not the study of computers. And this is very powerful. Computers are its tools. And then, in 1998, three computer scientists, they came up with a very interesting definition, and the underlined section says, the main hypothesis is that reasoning, meaning human reasoning is computational. So it means we are, in many ways, the way we think, we are predictable. Why now? Why all of a sudden, it seems to everybody, this conversation around AI has been like, now it's the end of it. Now it's going to be the beginning of everything. You can't really open a newspaper without having a conversation around AI. But why has happened all of this? In a nutshell, I'm going to give you the answer. Maybe the gentleman over there, the computer scientist, specialist in AI, might disagree with me. But I believe that we are at a point where this has taken off because computer power has become cheaper, and the second reason, it's a lot of money going into this technology. This graph, I have brought it here today for you. I'm not going to take you through all of it, but what I wanted to highlight there is just the top line, accelerating pace of change. So I'm going to just take you very quickly through those to see exactly how many years and how quickly change happens. So agricultural revolution to industrial revolution, 8,000 years. And then I'm just going to keep going. Moon landing, World Wide Web, human genome sequence, 9 years. And then we have the iPhone moment, only 10 years ago. Can any one of you think how different our industry was 10 years ago? I can. I remember exactly what I was doing in 2007 and 2008 when the jar with the marbles broke. We broke it as an industry. So what is AI? AI, it's a set of techniques. So anyone who says anything else, it is possible to accept it, but ultimately it is a set of techniques. Anything from machine learning, natural language processing, expert systems, vision, speech, planning, and robotics. But what I wanted to do for you today, I wanted to take that previous slide and structure it in a different way. So you can see that what specialist computer scientists are trying to do with artificial intelligence is they're trying to mimic how humans operate. So we operate by gathering information. When you gather information, you gather knowledge. But the intelligence comes when you know what to do with that knowledge. Having the knowledge on its own is not enough. And when they build computers, they look at how we operate. We think, we speak, we see. And I broke down those techniques under artificial intelligence umbrella into 3 equivalents for the thinking, speaking, and seeing, which is machine learning and all the reasoning systems like deep learning, which is a subset of machine learning, natural networks, reinforcement learning, and expert systems. There are many other techniques, but I didn't want to overload you with that. And then when we speak, we use natural language processing, the equivalent in computers. And when we see, computer vision. So I hope this helps you just try to make some sense of all these terms used so generously in the media. And whilst I'm at it, machine learning is a subset of AI, and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. And then there are three more definitions you would come across. One is narrow AI and general AI. There are many definitions of these two terms, but just to simplify things, general AI is a system which hasn't been built yet, but it's a system which can do pretty much anything and everything, and would know everything about everything in this world. That's not possible. It hasn't been invented. But narrow AI, it's basically anything else which is not general. Again, it's a very simplistic sketch of concepts. And then you might hear the Turing test, something like machines have not yet achieved the Turing test, or is that machine really that good? Has it passed the Turing test? So when you interact with a machine which has passed the Turing test, you would not be able to tell the difference between a human or a machine. It would be that human-like. But now, I'm going to slice and dice the same concepts again and bring them even more close to what we do on a daily basis and how we engage with information. So what these techniques, AI techniques, can do for us is that it would help us give information about what happened. So we are in that left-hand side. And usually that what happened comes as referred to as descriptive analytics. And then once we know what happened, we can find out why it happened. And that is usually referred to as diagnostic analytics. And once we know what happened and why it happened, the machine can use, we also, humans, we can make predictions, descriptions as to why what may happen in the future. So what happened is that I was late, and why it happened, because it was traffic. And if I do that on a regular basis, there is a pattern. Therefore, you may infer that, she's always late first thing in the morning, so she's going to be late now. So that is predictive analytics. That's when you identify patterns and then you predict a certain behavior, predict a certain outcome. But once you know what happened, why it happened, and what it may happen, then you have, or the machine has the ability to identify what to do in order to shape the future, in order to optimize a good outcome or stop a bad outcome. If it's a fraud, stop the transaction. And that is usually referred as prescriptive analytics. So we have, in human-like terms, is the hindsight, what happened, is the insight, why it happened and why it may happen. And then it's the foresight. How many times do we say, like, oh, he's brilliant, he's just so forward-looking, his foresight is just phenomenal. So this is in practical terms. So once we're here with artificial intelligence and we understand the concepts, my submission to you today is that AI can help us build trust through personalization and scaling. Trust means business growth. And these are two examples I brought for you today of two companies which have used AI techniques in order to improve their reach and deliver a personalized service. That's their business model. They made money and expand purely through personalization at scale. The slide on the left, the image on the left is a photograph I took earlier this year in Copenhagen of Ant Financial's presentation. Hundreds of millions of clients, They use AI. That's how they manage to look after so many people. But I want you to have a look at the bottom line of that slide, which says it's all about deep user understanding rather than cross-selling. So what they mean personalization is key rather than selling them. They bought a mortgage, I'm going to sell them some house insurance. They bought I don't know, car insurance, I'm going to just try to sell them something else like mortgage. So it's not about cross-selling. Our industry has spent far too much time trying to push products and cross-sell. How many times have we used that division is going to cross-sell with the other one? We are entering an age where personalization is absolutely key. And AI can deliver that. And when we are able to deliver a personalized service to our clients, that's when we build trust. Because with these techniques, we can build the 4 pillars of trust. Predictability, and I think I've lost the other one, but predictability, yeah, I've lost the rest ones, but we can go back to the slides and look at them. The second business model I brought here today for you is Marcus. They built this landing platform about 12 months ago. And in less than 12 months, they've reached the $1 billion milestone they wanted to do that. And what I want you to do is just, if you have time, just have a look at the reviews this platform has from actual users. Everything from 4.5 out of 5. So customers are happy, the business is growing, it's trust and business growth and personalization at scale. But when we adopt technology, it's very important to make sure that whilst we're putting those marbles in that marble jar, and every time the customer comes and engages with us, we personalize our service, we anticipate their needs. We need to make sure that long-term, that jar is not going to be broken. And there's one way you can break that jar, is by introducing or using systems which are not human-centered, and they're not designed with positive values at heart. And that takes me to trust, which is ethics and governance. It's another element of trust building. And earlier this year, I coined the phrase, algorithm have parents. And this phrase, it looks like it's taken a life of its own. People connect to this because algorithms have parents. Whoever says that this technology can just go on its own and no one knows what to do about it, that's wrong, because algorithms have parents. And then I'm going to just move very quickly to another slide, which talks about 3 oxymorons. I just wanted to bring them over to you today. There are many more I come across in the media, but I want you, if you can take just these 3 with you. One is, you don't need to program a neural network. I believe that the word program, it doesn't have its right place there. And then the second one, which actually grates on me every time I hear it, is AI and machine learning. It's the same thing with me saying, I like dogs and golden retrievers. You probably look at me and think, like, do you know what a dog is in the first place? And then the third one is an AI. An AI can do this, an AI can do that. That's ridiculous. AI is a technique, it's a basket of techniques. So whoever says any of this, it means that they are not there yet with a few basic concepts. And we have here, I just wanted to bring with you, for you today, 2 cases, quick wins with deep learning, which is one of the subsets of machine learning. The first one is detect suspicious ATM activities. And these are solutions which have been already deployed very successfully. And a deep learning system is capable of almost instantly looking at various databases, law enforcement video footages, and identify when suspicious activity is happening, and in some cases stop it. Compute insurance claims, it's another quick win with deep learning. When purely through submitting a photograph of the damage of the car, a system is capable of identifying or calculating the cost of repairing the car and spare parts and provide a quote. And the third one is in cyber security. Detect and prevent cyber attacks. is when a system is capable of just analyzing a lot of data, identify patterns, look at how the keystrokes are hit, and alert humans or stop certain transactions. But where is AI? Someone asked me the other day, where is AI? Well, AI is everywhere at the moment, and will continue to be so. So in our industry, we see AI in customer help desks. Those are the chatbots, data entry applications, is the RPA, but we need to put some AI on it, make it intelligent. Mutual funds performance comments. My background is in asset management, and many times I would find myself sitting down and writing performance reports. That's natural language generation technique, doing that today. Drones and autonomous cars, that's autonomous agents, of course. Fraud detection, big data analytics, visual searches, visual recognition, and natural language processing for market research and sentiment analysis. What is the industry doing? A lot, but only 4 cases here, which are mainly in HSBC, SEB, and BNY Mellon. It's in the back office, hugely successful deployment. And then Goldman Sachs with Marcus, I mentioned earlier today. Again, a very successful adoption. But I cannot be standing here today to talk about what this technology can do unless we did something. So some of our matchmaking work for our clients is to, especially in risk management and back office intelligent automation. And these are some of the cases we have done so far. Anything to do with internal frauds, external fraud, theft of information, hacking, damaging. You can see there are some really great AI companies there, which are capable of delivering very good solutions for employment practices, for instance, client, product, and business practices, business disruption and system failures, and execution, delivery, and process management, data entry, accounting errors, failed mandatory reporting, so on and so forth. But we also build systems for our clients on a bespoke basis. And so far, we've done spend prediction, portfolio construction for institutional clients as well as retail, and credit underwriting. Some of our work, a few photos, logos for you here, and then I'm going to move on to our pedigree. Again, more logos. And then I'd like to just very quickly just take you through how we do it. And I'd like to say this to you, because when you think of adopting AI in your own companies, please try to learn from this experience, because originally our business was set up to really deliver a matchmaking or build systems for our clients. But we soon realized that the need to educate board-level executives and senior management has become a key component of a good delivery. So we educate people through masterclasses, executives, we assess, we build a roadmap, and it's key here to have a long-term vision, holistic vision of what you do. We scope everything, every step of the way, identifying where to start, because you can't solve every problem at the same time. We select systems. We either do matchmaking or we just build systems for our clients. And we implement it. We stay with our clients through the implementation stage. And here we talk about AI and big data architecture. There are some errors in adoption we have seen so far, and I'd like to share them with you. One, rather concerning, there is no joined-up AI strategy. We're yet to see that amongst the people we've discussed so far. There are also wrong choices of AI systems and vendors. Clients usually go and just buy stuff on their own and they think they got it. But you can't get it unless you know the tech behind it. There's no informed engagement at the board level. The level of education at the board, it's very low. And if the board is not well educated in this space, they won't be able to give a strong mandate to their teams. There's no trusted advisor with proven AI experience, and that's very key. And I've seen that people add AI onto a poorly designed processes. if it's a poorly designed process, it's not going to change even if you put AI on it. So here are my 3 conclusions for today. AI is the new alchemy for business growth. Businesses cannot just really think that they can do nothing about adoption of AI. This is not a fad. This is not something which is going to come and go, and it's a new version of an iPhone. I'm going to buy the next one. Job done. This technology, it's the equivalent of your future secured for the next generations. Quite a lot of people said to me, I don't want to be seen to be talking about adopting AI because my people will get a bit nervous about hearing us adopting AI because they're going to lose their jobs. Well, my position is that if you want to keep your jobs, then you have to adopt this. Algorithms have parents. This is important because it talks about ethics and governance. And when you adopt AI, make sure that you ask the hard questions and make sure who you bring in your organizations. It's going to be very expensive to change it later on. And use a good advisor to guide you through the whole journey. So that's all from me today. Thank you very much for your patience.
Great.
And
thank you, Clara.
Thank you.
Want to grab a seat? If you want to grab a seat, Clara, and we could perhaps
Sure.
have a quick discussion, which I'm keen to involve the audience as well. So maybe as people think on 1 or 2 questions, and please do make them challenging, let me start. Where are we in the hype cycle when it comes to AI? I guess, the Gartner hype cycle being what it is, are we at early stages of this where everyone's getting very excited, after which we'll be disappointed and disillusioned for a period, but after that, then we see adoption? It strikes me, as I say, that, I'm a startup guy, I'm coming from that space. We work with big financial services clients in Asia Pacific and globally, and I feel a lot of the problems they're dealing with are regulatory in nature, they're technical, their culture, their process. And in fact, for me, a lot of the technology already exists. It's the implementation that's at issue. How do you see AI in the immediate term and then the kind of medium term? Where are we in that cycle?
Well, as I said earlier, AI is a basket of technologies, of techniques, and depending on. So when you look at adoption of AI, you need to make sure that you match the right technique for the right business process. So, for instance, visual recognition, that's a technique which has developed quite a lot. I think we've gone past the hype. It's proven already, and it's been used, and it's more accurate than humans, right? So I don't think we have a hype at the moment. I know maybe people are going to say, that's not. I think we are at a stage where we have realized that this technology has a proven solution. It's proven business case, and it can be adopted. And I think people are at a point where they're adopting it. I don't think everybody knows what they're adopting, quite frankly, but that education is going to come with time. So this is not a hype. A hype is something which comes and goes. But this is here to stay. It's like the personal computers. It's like the engines when humans used to have horses. This is going to stay here.
Okay, so I take the point that as you pointed out, there are different components to this. There are different mechanisms, and some may be further along in terms of development or sophistication.
Yeah.
Some may be further back. What are the barriers to entry? I'm curious. We had a session earlier with Microsoft, in which I was raising the point about cloud adoption and how it enables a lot of small businesses to scale quickly, and if anything, the fintech revolution, or let's call it the fintech moment, can be traced to this access to computing power. For AI and for some of the components of it that you mentioned, are these better suited to or more readily available to larger companies? Let's talk financial services specifically. Is there a barrier to entry in adopting some of these technologies and methodologies, even insofar as you need a certain amount of data in order to get real value out of it?
Well, true. Well, I think there are two main barriers. One is mentality barrier, it's a mindset barrier. And that needs to be overcome. And the previous session was very good at identifying ways to be more innovative and be open to change, be open to possibilities. But I think there is a perceived barrier in terms of the size of the data people need to have, organizations need to have in order to deploy these techniques. And I would say that, yes, in most cases you need a lot of data, but in other cases, especially for smaller players, you can use some pre-trained systems because the technology has been developed, and you can use them and then apply them to your data set, even if your data set is not as vast as the data set of a large organization.
Okay, I mean...
So my point is do not look at this engagement with AI thinking like, I'm too small, I might as well just disappear. Try to engage, find someone who would be able to just give you solutions to how you can go about adopting this technology. There are solutions there. There are interesting, very, very efficient ways to apply this technology on small data sets.
Okay, but I mean, I'm sure you'll agree that in terms of actionable insights, the greater the data availability, the greater the kind of utility you can derive from it.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But what are you going to do in practical terms with smaller organizations which haven't got that much data? Are you going to just tell them that they're not going to do anything?
Well, I think this is the
it?
big question actually facing the technology sector generally. I mean, having spoken to a couple of, a number of big name investors who would, like myself, hear about big data startups. I mean, there's a view certainly held by some in industry that actually there's probably only about 10 companies in the world that have big data in a meaningful sense. And we know who they are. For the most part, they're big consumer technology platforms. And I guess the question then becomes, is that insurmountable? Because the benefit of having more data, and you mentioned Ant Financial as an example, I mean, Ant Financial have been incredibly successful at building out their ecosystem because the more data they have from their payments arm, the more they can feed into their insurance arm, the more they feed into their credit scoring arm, and so on and so forth. And the feedback loop becomes almost insurmountable, in fact, in that particular market. Is there a danger that, maybe it's not a danger, it's just a natural evolution, is that a likely outcome for big technology firms who leverage some of these techniques, that they become kind of almost uncatchable?
What is the probability of that happening? And probably... yes, if you look at the type of access to data they have, probably yes, I would agree with you. But I believe that for smaller entities in financial services, smaller banks, smaller asset managers, in practical terms, there are solutions where you can deploy this AI techniques in that data set and help them achieve something close as if they were to have a seriously larger data set. So you buy, well, in very simplistic terms, you buy pre-trained algorithms, and then you just mold them on the data. You feed your specific data. If we push this narrative that only if you have huge data, then you can adopt AI, then we will see a large number of organizations, smaller size, smaller size organization in financial services, who will die by their own hand because their executives will see it's imminent. We don't have the data. What are we going to do about it? End of story. So I would encourage people to think beyond this and engage and be intellectually curious about the options out there, because there are options.
No, I suspect actually we're coming to the same conclusion, because my assessment of the financial services sector is they need to, above all else, think about what the adjacent industry of consumer tech is doing, because they are utilizing a lot of these. I mean, again, if there's only 10 big data companies in the world, there's probably 10 companies in the world leveraging AI at scale. And I'm not aware of any financial services, or at least traditional financial services firms doing that. Look, I don't want to monopolize. I'm very keen to get questions from the floor. Do we have any questions from folks? Sure, this gentleman at the front.
Thanks. Great talk, by the way. I got a question. What do you advise, like banks and so on, to do regarding using or building their own AI systems. I mean, can they call like the Google sentiment analysis or face recognition AIs, or have they got to build them themselves? I mean, can they send this data to Google and IBM and whoever else is building these things, or not? Right. So if not, then they've got to replicate this technology themselves. Should they be building that now, or what?
Well, that is a very good question. I think the world of AI does not end at Google and Facebook. I think because we spend a lot of time understanding smaller AI startups, we can see exceptionally well-designed solutions out there. And I would encourage smaller size organizations to go and find those solutions, those vendors who can then be brought in and work on the client's data. The world doesn't end at Google. Sorry, Google, and sorry, Facebook, but that's the reality. There are so many good AI companies out there which are just ready to have their solutions deployed in the space you've just suggested. It comes, though, I have to say, you can buy ready-made solutions and apply them in your organization. But for some processes, some clients prefer bespoke solutions. And that is a different thing. It's like flying economy and flying business. You want what everybody else has within your own world, then you buy a ready-made solution. You want something bespoke and be special treatment, then you go business, you go bespoke. So there are options.
Yeah, actually, just to add to that, I mean, it's an interesting discussion that we've been having in a separate forum around the idea of AI as a service. And certainly some of the big technology platforms are themselves, I'm beginning to sound like a Luddite. I mean, I think a lot of the big technology platforms are themselves moving towards the idea of AI as a service, such that, well, why don't you bring your company to us? We will enable you to leverage our technology, our algorithms, our data, for the benefit of your business, much as a cloud platform exists today.
Yeah.
I mean, the net effect of this, of course, is twofold. One, you benefit as a business, but secondarily, the platform themselves benefit by virtue of having ingested all of your data. So again, it, to me at least, comes back to the idea of at what point are we concentrating data in a relatively small number of firms. Hi, lady in the front.
Thanks again, Clara. That was a really good presentation. Some of us are totally new to this. My question is really around the process and the data architecture. I mean, some of us come from banks where we've got masses of data in disparate legacy systems. Can we actually leverage AI with what we already have, or do we need specially designed data architecture or, special processes? Can we use it? Is there a solution, either ready-made or bespoke, that can utilize what we have?
So you said the word legacy, and you've used legacy throughout the day. And it's interesting. I'm just going to answer your question in a moment. But some people come to us and say, like, oh, our legacy systems are just like, we're not going to be around, and we can't do anything about it. And Google is going to come over and eat our lunch. And I say to these people, you have what it takes to fuel this technology, which is data. You've got years of data of client engagement. It's just sometimes it's stored in the wrong places. So what you need to do, you just think in, again, very simplistic terms, clean it up, bring it in a place where you can just run AI on top of it, depending on what processes you have, and you choose the right technique. So first step, clean out the data. So imagine you have a desk full of everything. You don't see what you've got. It makes no sense. But you need to, once you tidy up what you have, then you can run the systems. And you're in control. You have what it takes for any technique under AI umbrella to work.
Well, Clara, perhaps as a corollary to that question, though, we've been talking about data, which is in effect an input, in fact, and as the old saying goes, garbage in, garbage out. But what about the actual people? I mean, the reality is these things, at least for now, until I guess the singularity occurs, these things aren't running themselves. You've still got people effectively engineering solutions, which I appreciate may have a machine learning component to it, but it isn't really talent the big division now between companies that can leverage AI. Yes, we've spoken about data availability. I think, frankly, there's mixed views as to how available certain massive data is. But isn't talent going to be the big battleground when it comes to this? And again, who's going to win the talent war?
Okay. I'm going to address that head on because I heard this. We are panicking because we don't have talent, therefore we're not going to do anything about it. It takes 3 months to 6 months to learn how to code in Python. So instead of panicking, what boards need to do, and this comes back to not having a leadership clarity as to what to do about this technology. I always say that AI is not just a technology, it's a strategic tool for businesses to grow, but AI is also a leadership issue. Because if the board doesn't get it, then they would not know what to do. Every day which goes past, you're not able to train your people to convert them to the next stage. Do you remember the days when we used to be sent to be trained in using Excel? I remember those days. So I think it's quite important to be able to stop panicking and realizing that we've got the talent, we just need to retrain them.
I mean, I would challenge that, frankly, very
Please
directly
do.
to say, I mean, certainly as a technologist, coming from the technology and development industry, the idea of a 100x developer is that, in fact, not everyone should learn to code. Those who can code, you've got these 100x developers whose impact is 2 orders of magnitude better than those before. So I guess for me, the talent isn't so much can everyone here learn Python. It's of the 2 people in a room of 100 who are orders of magnitude more adept and better placed to leverage these technologies.
Right.
Where are they going to go work? Who are they going to work for? Is it going to be, and again, I mean, I don't think there's an answer to this question, but I think
there is an architecture of panic going on around the narrative of like, what are we going to do? We haven't got enough talent. You want to have the talent, you build it in-house. As simple as that. And you start, and it takes time. I'm not saying that you can find this, but if you don't do anything today, you don't do anything tomorrow. You don't do anything in 6 months' time because you're just panicking, thinking like, I'm not going to find the talent. That nothing is going to get done.
Yeah, agreed. Back here and maybe up here after.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Which of the techniques that you ran through would you say are getting most traction in the market, and where would you see the most kind of low-hanging fruit within banking and financial services?
Well, it depends very much on what you want to achieve in your in your organization. What is your lowest hanging fruit? Which are your pain points? That's probably the lowest hanging fruit. And each organization have their own pain points.
Could you give a couple of examples? I mean, I know you ran through some in the slides, but what are you seeing?
I think the risk management is a very, very good environment to deploy these techniques with immediate wins. And I have run over, I think there are three cases which I put out there for, as examples of quick wins in adopting this technology.
Thank you.
Hi. But first of all, kudos for having the courage to take follow a non-traditional path. Like, you gave up, your senior position in the wealth management. You took a side track, went back to school, which is, requires a lot of courage. So kudos on that. But one question is, like, the whole field of AI and its application will go through a whole life cycle, right? And from your juncture, where do you see where we are from a tipping point perspective? Like, where will you think it'll become mass adoption, production-ready, enterprise-level applications happening across various industries, including financial services? How far do you think we are away from that? Just guesstimate, ballpark.
I think I'm not very good at generalizing, so that's one of my weaknesses. So I don't like just putting labels on everything, because that's a measure of being accurate about some elements and not accurate about others. But I think as this technology has started to prove a business case, and the more people will start using it in order to solve problems, tasks, I think we will see a mass adoption, and that will be the point. But it's 2 years, 5 years. My only estimation, probably I would just venture to say, in 5 years' time, probably 50% of wealth managers and asset managers in London will be gone, because they have not adopted this technology. Not because they have adopted this technology and they had to fire people. But I see a huge level of complacency in London. Again, I can't talk about other business centers, other financial services centers. But
yeah, I mean, just on that point, I think I would agree that, and it goes back to my earlier points around concentration, in fact, that I think, as I forever say, every industry is a technology industry, whether they realize it or not. Certainly financial services has long realized it's a technology industry. But the scale benefits that come from leveraging some of these techniques, the scale benefits that come from actually leveraging the data. Of course, most of the banks in the room have vast swathes of data which are utterly underutilized. The reality is the scale benefits are likely to involve considerable destruction in terms of the number of businesses operating in this space, as the big guys get bigger. Would you agree with that, or do you think that's a contentious point?
No, I think there's an element of truth in that. I won't disagree with you on that one, though.
Oh well, I better think of something else we can disagree on before we finish. Any other questions from the room? I'm sure. Really? Hi, lady again.
I'm really interested in the intersection you mentioned earlier when you took a sidetrack from studying between neuroscience and computer science. And I'm curious about the link when we say that we're teaching machines to do what human beings can do. So what is it that then makes the machine do it better than the human being? I mean, I look at the progression from the what to the why, the how. When we get to the prescriptive part of it, what is that magic ingredient that actually makes the machine better than the human being?
This is a brilliant question, and I think a short answer would be machines, twofold. I think, one, we have to remind ourselves that we have about 58 cognitive biases built within our own make. So we're not perfect. And then, not only that we are not perfect, but we have limited ability to process a large amount of data. And that's where machines can do better, again, if they're designed and in a way which is ethically responsible. So I think that answers your questions. No? Yeah?
I mean, maybe, I think it was a great question. Maybe the ethically responsible piece is interesting, and maybe to end on a philosophical note, if we are talking about true machine learning and artificial intelligence, the natural endpoint, in fact, as prescribed, is that, the machines are effectively coding themselves. I mean, that's the nature of the scale, the hockey stick growth that we're looking at. So at what point does human interaction from an ethical consideration stop? And, whether it's automated car or, autonomous cars, there's probably not something we're going to solve today, but how do we as a society, how do we, either at a country level or a transnational level begin to control for some of these things? If this scale growth is going to happen in the way that many people believe, is there a possibility we lose control of this at any stage? I mean, Elon Musk certainly thinks so. I'm curious what your own thoughts are.
I remember you said earlier that you are a parent, you have children, right?
Sure.
Okay. So I'm a parent too, and quite a lot of people here, I think you are parents too. When we raise our children, we make sure that we instill certain values in them, okay? In the same way, algorithms are designed with certain values. Whether they're good or bad, they're still values. And those responsible for designing them are their parents, the Microsofts of this world, the Googles, the other smaller AI companies which develop algorithms. And I think that's where the well, I wouldn't say responsibility lies, but to say that this algorithm can take a life of their own, it is possible if you let them be. As a parent, you can, if you let your child be and just not, be interested in what they do, they're going to do whatever they think is best. And sometimes it's not the right way to do things. And it's our responsibility as parents to always be there for our children. Mine is 19, and I'm still there for him, to be his sounding board. In the same way, these algorithms need to be designed with that in mind. Every single algorithm have parents, whether they're deep learning and they just code themselves or not.
Well, just on if the big technology companies, the big financial firms are the parents. I mean, who parents the parents, right?
Well, yeah, the grandparents.
Maybe. Well, there you go. Okay, listen. Please join me in thanking Clara for a really stimulating, excellent session.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you again. Cheers. Okay, great. Am I doing? I am. Great. I'm doing a quick. We're going to take about a 30-minute break, I believe, at the end of which we're coming back for our last session of the day, which is anatomy of a cyber attack. Now, this is a pretty interesting one. I think if AI is one big topic, cybersecurity is undoubtedly the other. So join us back here at 5 o'clock for a cybersecurity demonstration along with cocktails. Thank you.